there! For those of you that might not know me, my name is Amy Small, and I am the owner and founder of Knit Collage, a business that I started over 13 years ago, a long time ago. At Knit Collage, myself and a small yet amazing team designs hand-spun yarns, knitting patterns, and we also host make-alongs twice a year that are a way for us to share all the things that we are passionate about. This includes knitting, crochet, yarn, teaching, fashion, community, creativity, and mindfulness. So this is where I was 20 years ago. I was so clueless. I had bought all of this beautiful, expensive Manos yarn. So awesome. I had an intention to knit a sweater, and it never became anything more than this languishing whip, which means work in progress knit, that lived in my closet and then was donated at some point along the road. I didn't know how to get good support or how to learn those elusive, tricky techniques. I kept accumulating more and more yarn and trying again and again, but really never getting that far. I just couldn't stay away from the yarn. There was something that was calling to me, inspiring me, and inviting me to become a little bit more creative, to learn new techniques, and to challenge myself. So all this time, I'm going it alone, I'm knitting by myself. I didn't have a single friend to help clue me in on what a whip was, which I just told you, or to tell me the difference between all the different yarn weights, right? That's confusing. What does it all mean? There was nobody cheering me on and supporting me. So this lasted 4 years, and it wasn't until Knit Collage, the yarn spinning business, was established a decade later that I felt slightly more knowledgeable, but not that much. As a knitter, I still had no wolf pack. I was all by myself. So what I realized along this long and lonely knitting journey is that knitting had taught me so much more about myself and freed up all this pent-up creativity that had been stamped out of me growing up in a world that celebrates conformity. Making things helped me discover my inner artist, and that permeates every single thing I do and how I live now. I'm more free to let what's in my heart and in my soul come out on those needles in this free flow of creativity and self-expression. I simply feel more like myself and care less about how everybody else sees me, and it feels dang good, let me tell you. So of course, making things, it goes beyond creativity. That's my favorite one because it has such a profound effect on me. But knitting has also helped me practice patience. I'm notoriously impatient. It's helped me come to this realization that I can figure out hard things. I can do hard things, because if I can steek a sweater, which is where you cut into your knitting, or if I can knit a complicated lace chart, then I can most definitely tackle this tricky inventory challenge I'm facing at work. There's also that moment when you finish that hard pattern or that sweater, that thing that took you a really long time to make and you had to rip out, but you got there and you finished it, and you just feel like a complete rock star. You're empowered, confident, on top of the world, and just ready to kick some butt and take names. That confidence ripples out into all that I do. And I know that my family, my community here around me, locally, they sense it, they see it. So as you can see, all of these struggles, figuring out how to knit and actually finish projects, none of it was in vain, because they helped me figure out what would have helped me, what would have benefited me back then when I was just getting started. Maybe more powerfully, I learned what would benefit me now as an always hungry to learn more techniques knitter and crocheter on the hunt for a new project and a group of creative thinking friends, or a wolf pack, a knit pack, crochet pack, to share that journey with. So this is, in a nutshell, how our Knit Collage biannual knit-alongs, now make-alongs, because we include both crochet and knitting into them, came to be. Through these events, a group of makers gathers together to learn, problem solve, get creative, and connect. Our fall 2022 knit-along, actually, it was a make-along because we did have crochet. It just wrapped up, and it was so amazing. I want to encourage you to watch the celebration video on my YouTube channel. We hosted Zooms, events, we made connections with each other, we pushed our skill set to learn more new techniques, and there was so much mind-blowing creativity that came out of the group. But then it all ends after 8 weeks. And what I realized 2 years ago when I started Creative Knitters was that I really wanted to keep that conversation going with the community we had built through our knit-alongs. And that conversation is simply geeking out about yarn, any yarn, doesn't have to be our yarn, learning those new techniques, sharing our favorite pattern designers, our favorite tools, and of course, cheerleading each other with heartfelt love for what we were all making. And underneath the fun part of geeking out about what we love, there is this underlying thread, right? And that thread is that making things makes us better. That's why we keep doing it. It's a tool we use to become more creative, confident, relaxed. It has this amazing meditative property and just feel more like ourselves. I alluded to that earlier. It feels so good. And that's why we do it. So with all of this in mind, I came up with this simple membership idea that ties into our make-alongs, but it goes way beyond simply knitting with our yarns and our patterns. And I would love to invite you to go deeper with me and join in the fun. The group started with a teeny group of founding members over 2 years ago, and now we're ready to open up the membership again, something that happens just twice a year. I have made amazing friends, many of whom we saw at Vogue Knitting Live just a week ago, and it's just been incredibly powerful. It's not uncommon for members within the group to form their own small friendships by location or otherwise, and to be inspired by each other's creativity and projects. All right, so there are parts of Creative Knitters that tie into our yarns, our make-alongs, and what we do here at Knit Collage, but there's so much that goes beyond it. So I am here to tell you just what comes along inside Creative Knitters. So here we go. All right, so first up, help sessions. And I truly feel that this is the most valuable portion of the Creative Knitters membership. It is so incredibly valuable. So what happens when you have a problem with your knitting or your crochet project and you have no idea what to do? You've made a fatal error or you're reading a pattern and you have no idea what it means. You need some one-on-one help. We offer that, and you have the option to sign up for a help session with one of our knitting and crochet teachers, Cheryl and Ann. You have one per week. They're 30 minutes each, and they help solve whatever problem you're working on with you and for you. These have been extremely powerful and an awesome tool for the community to troubleshoot and actually finish those projects. They make the whole process so much more easy. So these patterns, these questions that you come to the help sessions with, they don't have to be about our yarns or patterns. They can actually be about any yarn and any pattern. So really, really awesome. We ask that when you sign up, we have a whole system and process for doing this. You just write in a blurb so we can do research on our end, Anne and Cheryl, if they need to, so that they're prepared to answer your question. They don't have to do any of that when they're on the call. Sometimes they have to swatch, sometimes they have to research techniques. They figure that all out so that they're ready to help you in the moment on that call. So like I said, you're eligible for one session a week. And yeah, hard to put a value on that. It's so, so hugely helpful. You also have instant access to a video vault. This is yours forever and ever. It has over 130 videos shot by myself in there. These range from the simple basics, what's the difference between all the yarn weights, how to read a yarn label, what my favorite tools are. But then we get into the more advanced and difficult stuff too. So this is all the stuff I wish I had known when I was starting out on my knitting journey. I spent so many hours on YouTube looking for decent tutorials, and they're very hard to find. We all know this, right? They're hard to find. So this is the place. If you've done any of my video courses before, you know that it works for you. This is the place where you can get access to so many different tutorials. So I talk about short rows, we teach that, brioche, blocking, intarsia, cables, charts, lace. I mean, there's so much in there. So Cheryl, the knitting teacher, is also using the video vault to teach us one new stitch pattern each month. You make a little swatch, there's a pattern for a little square, and then at the end of the year, we're going to seam those up into a beautiful patchwork blanket. So that's a fun project we have going on this year that's new. All right, the second thing is classes. So each month we have one learning event, and these classes for the most part are geared towards learning knitting, crochet, and fiber-related techniques so that at the end of the year, you can look back and say, oh my gosh, I learned so much. And these are all held on Zoom and they're all recorded. So if you can't join us live, you can watch the recording. So over the past 2 years, we have learned how to add beads and sequins to our knitting with Paula Pereira, how to take better photos of our finished objects by Gabriella Traminio, and how to spin yarn by Amanda Solomon. But there are so many more. Team members from Knit Collage also teach. So Laurel Gerbitz taught us how to fix all the mistakes. That was a incredibly popular one. Cheryl led us on a class on how to make a curly locks collar. Think Almost Famous vibes for this ultimate show-stopping accessory. So those are really a lot of fun and a way to continually up-level your skills. Okay, let's talk about community for a second. Community, like I mentioned before, it just makes the whole experience so much better. Where I live, I don't know anybody that knits. The Zoom community is my fiber community. So we host our community on Zoom and in a private Facebook group, and we also connect you by location. So this is the place where you can post any project, any yarn. We love it all. We host weekly community Zoom calls. Each one has a theme, so we all know what we're going to talk about. And these range from what's your favorite tool to your favorite craft book to your favorite cold weather accessory. There's all sorts of themes that these revolve around. And this is a wonderful place to say that really all skill sets are welcome here. Knitting can be so intimidating for beginners, I think, because we have all this terminology and it can be really daunting to join into a community where you feel like everybody knows everything. We have knitters in our community who have never knit before. They're literally learning right now with us. And then we have knitters who have been knitting for decades. And what I know is that if you're one of those knitters who've been knitting for decades, you know that every once in a while, you make a mistake and you rip and you have to redo it. And there's always room to learn and grow, even when you think you know everything. So this is a place for beginners and expert knitters alike to learn and grow wherever they are. And this is a wonderful place too, to say that all are welcome. This is a space for all genders, bodies, races. No unkindness is tolerated. So this is super important to us, and we have made this the forefront of our Zooms going forward. I mentioned that we connect folks by place. So this comes in handy if you have local knitters. Let's say you're from the New York area. We have a very strong New York area group. Or let's say you're traveling like member Maureen was to Australia this winter. She met up with another member, Michelle, while she was there. Really fantastic. The friendships that people have made through this community have been deep and powerful. And I just want to share one quick story because I heard this at Vogue Knitting Live last weekend. One of our members is writing a book and connected with another friend, the New York community, and she ended up getting one of her creative knitters friends to proofread her book before it went on to be published. And the proofreading advice and feedback that this author got from a creative knitter's knitting friend was so powerful. And she shared that perspective has made her book so much better. So these friendships and connections we make can go beyond just the making and the knitting to be even more powerful and lead to other areas of our lives. I just thought that story was incredible. Okay, so the next thing is early access and behind the scenes and into the fold of the business type things. So you get early access as creative knitters to all of our products, yarns, make-alongs, some of the items that we have sold, produced, designed in the past couple years have sold out within minutes. So this is the way you can make sure you always get exactly the colorway you want if you join in our make-alongs. So our yarns are all handmade in India, and the process of creating our yarns is very time intensive. The lead times keep getting longer. Shipping takes a long time. All the components that go into our yarn take a long time to knit. And despite my best efforts, it's nearly impossible to guess each season which yarns will sell the best and which won't. So having that early access is really going to come in handy. I also surprise you with a fun yarn gift at the end of the year. This is usually valued at $40 or more. Along the way, in the course of the year, you get loads of free patterns, free shipping, and other little perks from time to time. We are hosting a workshop right now that is Design Creative Knitters Yarn. And this is the first time we are doing this, but I foresee this being twice a year. So once for fall and once for spring. On my next road trip to India, which is not a road trip, my next trip to India, which is next week, I am going to put the Creative Knitters yarn submissions into work. And then as a community, we are going to vote which one we put into production. So at the end of this whole process, which will take a few months, we are going to have our own Creative Knitters yarn. It's super exciting. And this is the first time we're doing it. So we're working out the kinks in the process as we go, but I foresee it becoming a bigger part of the community, and I'm really excited about it. So lastly, you get a $10 credit to use on the Knit Collage website every month. If you don't use it, it simply rolls over to the next month. If you're inclined, you can save it up to use towards one of our make-alongs every 6 months. So I want to touch on creativity because this is the biggest one for me and probably the least tangible. So all the tangible things are done. This is the one that impacts me the most, that I think about the most. We will be encouraging you to embrace your creativity and freedom of self-expression. That is what we are about here at Knit Collage. I'm constantly thinking about how can we be your example? What can we do here as a team to inspire you to just do you, whatever that might be. This could be through highlighting your incredible work. It could be working on a stash busting make-along. That's something we have going on this year. It could be mixing yarns in a new way, in a new technique, just through what we make and what we're doing here at Knit Collage. But it's a big part of what we do, and we try to weave into the fabric of everything we offer the creative knitters. Okay, so here are the nitty-gritty details. The cost is $38 per month, a cost that typically increases each time we open up registration because we keep adding more and more to what you get. And that video vault just grows and grows. Those class recordings just grow and grow. Registration will be open for 1 week only, and the next time you can join will be in about 6 months from now, so July 2023. If we get a lot of interest right now, we may not open it in 6 months. I have a number in mind that we cap it out. So this time around, you have the option to sign up for a year-long month membership, and you're going to save around $50 if you do that, or you can pay monthly. So registration opens February 22nd, which is next Wednesday at 10 a.m. Eastern Time, and we'll keep it open for 1 week, closing on the 29th at midnight Pacific Time. And then, of course, the fun begins. Right when you join, you get access to the video vault and the video recordings and the community. Our first welcome Zoom call is going to be right after we close up cart and get everybody into the fold and connecting with the community. If you've joined our make-alongs in the past, or you simply love yarn and knitting and want to take your skills to the next level, then I invite you to join me on a new friend-filled creative adventure. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions, and if there's one aspect of the membership that really piques your interest. I'd love to hear from you. Thank you so much, and I so hope you will join me in Creative Knitters.